A somber Garnet and Old show. Vince, it's good to see you, my friend.
It's great to see you. It's great to see. It's great to see a lot of things today. Today was a rough day, Ryan, and you know we're not even there, and it's rough. And I think I saw someone posted a little bit ago that just the connections everybody has, but it's. I thought about maybe not doing a show tonight, and I know you did too. But then we were going back and forth about happenings, sports related and everything else, and none of that really matters as we all process what happened today.
It's a shame because I was, all excited to come on and show my fake studios here in Mount Dora, Florida. Uh, what's crazy is we actually got, kind of got two pieces of sad news. One much sadder than the other, and we got one. We were like, we got to change the show, and then we got the real bad one. That we're like, do we do the show? And then, um, yeah. So just to start out with big picture stuff. First off, thank you even on today like this for Captain Jack
Of
fishing,
course, yeah, yeah.
but he will understand. Um, all of you in the chat watching live, X, Facebook, YouTube, just know if it's not a good time to watch it, you don't have to watch us tonight. But if you want some cathartic talk time with us, just to kind of talk things through, we're here for you as well. So um, I got I was on X when this happened. I think I actually had sent you something from social media or
Hmm.
something moments before the news broke, and then got the trending immediately started happening on X, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? And at first, you always hope if because sometimes they're vague with the um, active or live shooter. Like it's
Yeah,
happened before where there's been an interaction with police in the area that's like maybe on on the streets nearby, and they kind of lock down FSU out of a over precaution, to make sure while they hunt for someone that it's all good. But in this case, it actually was, worst case scenario. Now we'll get into frustrations I have as far as news reporting. Just for a little update, earlier today, by almost every news source, it was reported 5 dead. That is not accurate. 2 dead, and I think 7 injured in the hospital. So
yeah,
all those news sites had to walk stuff back. So clearly they went before they knew, which is a shame. But overall, Vince, I had invited friend of the show, Melina Myers, who does great work both at campus. She's a teacher and photography for the Seminoles and for NFL. And clearly, and she messaged me about an hour before the show and said, it's been a rough day. I think I need it. And I was like, totally, we'll get you
yeah,
on another time.
yeah.
Um, but I was following hers and a few other people's posts on X while it was happening. People barricaded in their classrooms or in wherever they were. Pretty scary situation, and it kind of called back Vince immediately memories back in 2014 or 15 when there was a shooter, same situation in Strozier,
Hmm.
and my wife had been in the library like 2 hours before in that library before she got home.
Right.
And so it brings it close to home when you have something like that happen because you know how close it was. And um, come to find out, we'll get into the details. It was a sheriff's deputy's son who was highly involved in the police in Leon County Police Department.
Hmm.
Um, we'll get into that a little bit more. But Vince, kick it over to you. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, so as far as the news reports are concerned, I mean, having social media is a blessing in a lot of ways. It's also a curse in a lot of ways, just because, somebody runs with something, and whether they're going off of sources that they trust, or maybe they're just, trying to throw something out there to see if it'll stick, and then someone tags onto that, and then it becomes this snowball
Right.
effect when really, the ultimate source of that is not anything legit. And the things that I've seen today, about legitimate news sources, not not taking ownership for, the false reporting. I mean, it's and I've told my kids this ever since they were there, they could like understand. It's okay to be wrong about stuff, but a sign of your growth and your development is being able to own up to the things that are not, for example, you had some righteous indignation today about a social media post, and it's okay to make mistakes. Human beings make mistakes, but your character really comes out when you choose to either own up to the things that you do or not do. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. But as far as me, I was in a Teams meeting at that time, and a person that I work with, and you know him as well, Ryan. He lives in Tally, and we were right toward the end of the meeting, and he popped off the camera for a second and came back on. This was like at about 12:01, and he said, "I just got a text from my wife. There's an active shooter on the campus."
Is this our friend, the owner of the bar of the
Yes.
Palace? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so immediately the first thing I did was FaceTime my daughter. Like I got off the meeting right away and FaceTimed her, and um, she answered right away, which doesn't always happen with your with your kids, by the way. But she answered right away, and the first thing she said was, "Dad, I don't even know yet what's going on." Like I said, I don't care whether you know what's going on. I just want to make sure you're nowhere near there and you're safe. And she was at her apartment. She wasn't on campus at all. She had graduated in December, so her frequency of actually being on campus is a lot less.
Mm.
Um, but that to me is the first thing is I got to make sure um, my daughter is somewhere safe, and then immediately after that it's like, okay, who do I need? Because I'm fortunate like you, Ryan. Like I work from home a lot, so I have the opportunity to keep people in the know when things happen, and my wife doesn't have that opportunity as a kindergarten teacher. She can't like, just bust out her phone and scroll on social media all day long. So I let my family know immediately. And then from then on, it was like checking social media for people that I know that have kids there. On our street alone, Ryan, I don't know if I've told you this, on our street alone, there are one, two, three, I think four kids going to Florida State or recently graduated just on our little street.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was that it was like, oh, have we heard from so and so, you know? And then just to wrap it up, I'll say I was distracted pretty much the whole rest of the day,
Of
and
course.
that's nothing compared to what the people that were there had to go through.
Yeah, it's a tough day in general. We have a friend that works at FSU, um, and a few other people that live in the area. So you message those people first, just to make sure everyone's good. Um, like I mentioned earlier, we know Melina who teaches at FSU, um, right in that area. So a lot of connections, because
Yeah,
you know we don't have inside info, but we have a lot of contacts of friends and family in the area. Um,
and really, Ryan, I mean, my wife is a much better social media poster than me. She's just very eloquent with her words, and I mean, that's my home, right? Tallahassee is my home for a lot of reasons, not just because of the time that I spent there. It's like the connections you've made. You meet your spouse there. It's like the foundation of your growth as an adult. Um, so not physically there, but my heart is hurting right now in a big, big way.
Yeah, and I know you said a quick word on it, but um, most of you who maybe watch this show saw me kind of call out a post earlier. If you're a person who sees an active shooter situation on at a school or anywhere, probably not a good idea to retweet it and make a joke about it. Um, I won't go too much further than that, but if you do that, and in comment sections when people say, "Hey, man, not a good look," and you're defensive, kind of, "Oh, you people are too uptight," or whatever, and then just delete the post. I'm gonna call it out every time because how I feel about that situation is, if you're if you think it's funny, I want everyone to know how much of a tool you are for pointing in a serious situation like that. That's just my personality. It's one thing if you make an offhand comment about like a player, like from practice or something like that, and I don't agree. I'll leave that one alone. But when you make light of a life-threatening situation and then are defensive when people call you out about it, yeah, I'm going to let people know.
Well, and not necessarily him specifically, or I'll just say people in general. Um, they don't. Sometimes the connections aren't made within the brain, right? Between it's like the filter. It's the filter you gain as you evolve as a human being, as someone that cares about their fellow man, right? I think there's a time for, rubbing it in with a rival, which we do, and there's a time for, calling out some stuff, but I do believe, Ryan, that a lot of people lack um, that ability, that filter, that evolved filter to know when things are maybe a little bit across the line, and or maybe even a lot across the line. So
Yeah, I think with things like that, especially someone who, you know, claims to be a fan of the university and the school, the last thing I'll say about it is my read from this individual is likes to get likes and tweets and
sure,
retweets,
sure,
and so there are people who I know that maybe have a hard time filtering, but then there's people I think that do a little clout chasing.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. If you think of, like, I debated today whether we were going to do the show tonight, just because uh, it's like I don't want to pile on, like, to everything that's been going on today. But then again, I thought to myself, you know what? I personally need to talk about it,
Yeah,
right? And I know you're kind of that way too. And you know, we probably have quite a few people in our community here um, that want to, be among people that have the same heart. Whether you're chiming in the chat, or whether you are just listening or just watching, there is a cathartic, like you said, there's a cathartic um, relief when people of like emotion get together to talk through things.
yeah. Um, Want to dig in a little bit, Vince? Just that what we know
Yeah, let's go
versus.
through the facts. Yeah, for sure.
So around, you said around, let's say mid afternoon, the lockdown
Noon,
happened.
noonish time. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's not five deaths. Any death is too many, but two deaths and seven. I think seven. We're up to now. People who are also just injured, who I think they were described as in like safe condition, like not
Hmm.
critical condition. Um, the most interesting thing about this, I don't think we still have full confirmation one or two shooters. There was a lot of talk on two or even three shooters at one point, and what we do know is that the confirmed shooter, who I believe this is one that's arrested and still alive, I can't confirm it. Is this the one that was passed away?
As far as I know, there's one shooter. I don't want to get into names though. Just
No, I'm not
we
going to
can,
name the
yeah,
shooter.
we just
The
talk about
the
the
situation
yeah,
being, the son. People want to know like what I think a lot of people jump immediately to, of course, like I'm going to get it. I'm going to get my personal views in a second, political, which is a good thing sometimes in these situations. But this person was the son of a deputy who apparently was also that kid was part of, I guess, the kind of like the partner with your local
yeah,
sheriff's office,
highly involved as a
highly
student,
involved.
like yeah, like an activist with working with the law enforcement, I guess.
Yeah. One thing about that is, and I will say this: keep an eye on this. Not saying I don't have any ill will, obviously, towards that family. They're probably as devastated as anyone. What I do know is, Vince, I do have multiple, actually, brother-in-law who's in law enforcement, and the kid did steal, it's apparent, the firearm from the sheriff, the parent. One thing that is important, though, if you are a deputy or sheriff, there's rules on how you store your weapon at the house or anywhere in your other than your person, about making sure it's locked in a way that no one else other
Sure.
than you can get it out. So I'm just bringing that up not to point any kind of blame. That's not what I'm doing. I'm bringing it up to know that as this investigation goes forward, don't be surprised when there's questions as to why that gun was not, you know, protected in a certain way at the home.
Yeah,
But real quick, Vince, I want to get into this. Most of you aren't shocked that I'm a lean conservative kind of guy. I've owned weapons. I've used weapons. I've done all that stuff. But there definitely should be more control on who can get a weapon. Now, this shooting doesn't appear to be involved in that kind of thing, but it always brings it up, right? And I'm not the guy that's like, my Second Amendment. I'm not that guy. People are usually surprised when I say, yeah, I think there should be a lot stricter gun laws in this country to prevent some mass shootings. I think there should be a lot more investigation and clearance and checks and balances before anyone touches a firearm. And there's certain firearms that no one needs to have access to. Sorry. It's the beautiful thing about America is that you can say you're a registered Republican and have Democrat or left leaning views too. Um, gay marriage, I'm all for it. That's everyone's a mixture, which is really cool. That's what makes America great. But I could tell you, I'm here to say that whenever this kind of thing happens, of course, guys, it's going to become politicized by both sides. It will. It will. And what I encourage all of you to do is be clear about what you believe in. Vote for what you believe in. Like I just stated, the things that I wished that would change. Hey, protest for what you believe in. But what I hate to see around this time is people shouting people down. It's
it's
not the way to go about it. So just PSA from my heart, please be kind to people.
yeah. From my heart is very similar to that. Um, Today is not about politics. So many things degrade and devolve into that. Um, it there's so much about the political climate these days where people allow their politics to define them as a human being, and it is that is not you. Your politics are not you. Um, how you how you engender yourself with other human beings and how you think about um, your family and your community and the people that matter most to you, that those are the kind of things that define you. It is, and I knew it would happen, that it wouldn't take too long before, and mostly they're bots, to be honest with you,
Of course, yeah.
that are taking extreme tones with any kind of event that goes on. And one of the quickest ways, by the way, if you're not great on the social media realm, one of the greatest ways to know if something is a bot or not a person, look at their follower count. Look when they created their account.
How often they post
how
quickly.
often they post. That's a great way to know whether you should whether your feathers should get ruffled about a post that you see. But today is, I would say not just today, but today especially, is not about like right and
Right.
left.
Be
And
kind,
to,
man.
it's not because it's about human beings and human life. And if you let your, if everything that you, every viewpoint you have and everything that drives your energy has to do with what side of the line you're on, I wish for you a better life and I wish for you a better existence. And that's for all sides, by the way. Um, Ryan,
Yeah.
you've stated, your kind of deal there. I'm I wouldn't consider myself left and I wouldn't consider myself right. I'm kind of middle of the road guy. And I have certain areas of my things that I believe that are pretty conservative, and other areas of my life that I believe are more, a more
Which
liberal
is how most
sway.
people honestly probably
And
are. So
it is the way most people are. It's unfortunate though that the majority that you hear from are again mostly not actual people, but really extreme people like to shout from the rooftops. The
yeah.
majority of this country is in the middle, and that's just a fact. And once people start to realize that and understand that that's still the case, it's always been the case in this country.
It's probably a lot of the reasons why you and I get along so well.
Then
Yeah.
a lot of this, back and forth bashing is gonna be
Yep.
quelled. But anyway,
I just hated to see it on Twitter. Like
I hate to see it
immediately,
too.
it's going to happen. You're prepared for it, but you still pisses you off when you start seeing it.
And it comes also, Ryan, sometimes from people that I love,
Hmm.
and people that I follow, and people that on any other given day we can kind of laugh off, the quirkiness of our friends. And you know just so you know, and I've said this on the show before, the snooze button is a wonderful thing, and I snooze a lot of people constantly, and I'm sure they snooze me too, and that's fine. But today isn't about that. Today is about, the you know if you want to boil it down, today is about the fact that thousands of people woke up to go and live their life, and whether that life is trying to get a degree or maybe working at the university or
Yeah.
whatever. And that day is completely, burned now into their core memory as, the worst day of their life.
Yeah. Yeah. I hated to see that one of the people that was in the area had also been in the Parkland change. It's like, man, you can't get come to FSU after being at a different shooting event and from
Hmm.
another school. And it's like it feels like Final Destination stuff that you're like, good lord, can I catch a break here? Like, I do want to. I also find myself in some these kind of situations, always putting myself in certain people's shoes. Not, of course, the people that were around the area or hurt directly, but it also this one always scares me to death. It wouldn't stop me from being a parent, but it scares you to death to be a parent. I mean, you're talking about a sheriff's deputy who has their kid involved, and then I'm sure, Vince, I can't imagine one of your kids, you got the call that like your kid is a school shooter. You'd be like, what? You wouldn't even believe it. And
Yeah.
I know it's odd. My brain goes to those types of situations, not in it from a point of sympathy, but almost like, man, what would I even like? What do you do with your life when your kid like? It's hard to even think.
Yeah. And it's it's hard to even think about that, and that, that parent, um, again, people are rushing to judgment. um, Judge not lest you be judged. but people rush into judgment, and you don't know anything about the situation. That that mother is devastated, and quite possibly, probably didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, I mean, how do you process that? How do you process, if you were a friend of that kid's, right? And and you liked that kid, right? You have a connection with it. You've been friends with it. How do you process that?
Yeah, those are the kind of thoughts that when I'm laying in like a bed going to sleep, like what would I do, or how I would react, or what would I think? I mean, you had, a situation not too long ago where a very famous, you know, murder case in your daughter's high school at the time,
Hmm.
right near. I forget the name of the whole situation. It's not important really, but
It was
um,
actually the middle school, but yeah,
yeah, I mean, there's documentaries about it. Let's just say
yeah,
that. And Vince texted me that day. You're like, this is literally like down the street.
yeah,
And I'm sure, Vince, at that moment, you had several times where you caught yourself thinking, like, my kid could have known that kid. My kid could have been killed by this kid, like right there.
absolutely, absolutely. And you know, we see things like you know, um, uh, Stoneman Strong, right? Stoneman Douglas and Parkland Strong, and all these things, and there are hashtags that you see from far away. Virginia Tech, right? And a lot of friends of mine that went to Virginia Tech, and you think that, yeah, I mean, you're saddened by those things, and you think like that should never happen. Those things should never happen, and you wonder whatever could happen in this world to make things a little better. I don't want a hashtag FSU strong.
Right. You don't want to even get there.
I don't want that,
Yeah.
and I don't want a ribbon. I don't want that. Um, it's but here it is, right?
Yeah.
And so
It's
when
also
it
odd,
hits,
Vince. You have to feel like it's odd because I think a lot of people are like this. When you see things that happen, like let's say in another city, completely away from your life circle or state or country, something horrific, your brain acknowledges that that awful thing happened, but it almost is like you're disassociated from a fact that you're kind of separated from it. You're enough degrees of separation where, my God, that's terrible. And then you kind of go on, like the next day, it's just another day. You go on with your day. You don't probably think about that again unless it's on the news or. But when it's close to home, it's almost like I didn't even think this was possible in my
yeah,
circle.
yeah,
It's a whole different feeling, and it's hard to explain.
yeah, when you're seeing, whether it was the situation that happened here at the middle school, we're seeing on the news, you know, the news reports and the police presence right outside my kid's school, right? And then you see the news reports from today, and you're seeing, I know that building. I spend a lot of time. I mean, not at the union because the union's
Yeah,
new,
the video
but
footage. We know where that
but
is. We've been
but we
there.
know where that is. I've been there, and I have. Those are deep, deep connections, and it changes your perspective in a big way. And the rest of the people that are not Florida State grads or fans or whatever, they're gonna they're gonna look at the hashtags that you see about Florida State and think about it the way we thought about things that aren't as connected to us. And the world will continue to move on,
And it's
and
probably for the best that our bodies function that way because I read this book once. The people in the chat might know it, but it's called "The Body Remembers." It's about
mhm,
trauma, um, and I think if your brain operated where everything was reality, like real to you, it would be overwhelming, too much, especially with today's news cycle, like in
yeah,
general. with how back in the day. I mean, people say it's crazier than ever. I really actually think the world was always crazy. There just wasn't social media and phones in everyone's hand.
For
So you
sure.
only saw your local newspaper or your local news, and that was your world. But now we see everything. We see every Vince. I'm sure you have. You're scrolling on X and you see a missile strike, and you're like, oh, that loaded quickly, and my brain just saw like six people get mowed down in a military conflict. And the next day, you're scrolling, you see, oh, this guy, got his head bashed into concrete and thrown off like into the street or something. You're just inundated with a terrible, terrible, terrible. And so it's good that our brain has the ability to disassociate some things because it protects you. It's meant that's what the book is
Yeah.
about. It's about your brain puts measures into place to protect yourself and to move on. But things that are close or things that happen to you specifically, your brain still tries to do that, but they won't. Unlike the other events, it will come back, and it might have some pain or suffering for you unless you deal with it.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
there's
yeah,
all kind of, you know, post post traumatic stress disorder, and I mean, it's all stuff that your body, your mind, your whole being connect has a deep, deep connection with significant events in your life. Um, and I'm of the belief that we're not supposed to bombard ourselves with extremes. You know, so and I'm not ashamed to say this. If I'm scrolling through X and I see something that looks a little gory or a little, because people love to post some nasty stuff. I will not. I will not look at it. I will literally close my eyes and scroll past it
and I think that's a generational thing too, big time.
because I don't think that it's healthy. And I'm also a big believer, and this may sound, you know, um, kind of hippie-ish, but uh, I'm also a big believer in you should pepper your life with positive things,
Yeah,
and because you need to combat all of the stuff that's being thrown at you all day long, every day. There's
I have
quite a few
something
people
positive
in the
for you, by
chat
the way,
here,
Vince. I'll
Ryan.
shout some people out here
Yeah.
in a second, but one positive note, and it's kind of breaking. Um, just posted about 40 minutes ago. A lot of members of the athletic department, including Michael Alford, are cooking hamburgers and hot dogs for students at the stadium right now, at the Civic Center. Sorry, Dickhauser. Um, just trying to help the community and kind of because this is what you're talking about, Vince. The worst thing you can do is kind of at first it might be okay, but you need to talk to people when these
You
kind
need
of
to
things
talk to
happen.
people.
And it's not like, man, they're having a barbecue. It's having people come out and have hamburgers and hot dogs, and it sounds like this thing that you would do when you're celebrating. But reality, all it's there is a method to invite people to come get dinner and to say, "Are you okay?" And I appreciate the university staff for doing that.
Are you okay? And we're here for you. And let's not gloss over the fact that I am a big believer that we as a country don't spend enough time and energy and resources on mental health.
Agreed. Yeah.
Um, and the beginnings of that, I believe, are friendships. Like Ryan, you and I have been friends for a long time, and if there are things that are going on in your life, you've shared those with me, and I've shared those mine with you, and having strong bonded friendships is like almost like foundational to mental health, and then whatever happens after that from a country standpoint, putting more resources toward or whatever, the best thing you can have in your life is strong, honest, genuine friendships with people.
Yep.
Um,
I can tell you, my
that's the
wife, when she was
foundation.
my wife Kristen was a case manager before she became a nurse at a she was a case manager and worked at a mental health hospital, psych ward. So the first like 8 years of her career was in mental health and psychology and case management. And there's a lot going on up there, and it's not all. Yeah, I'm going to put this a way in which I can empathize for it because I've been through a minor crisis my own. Vince, you know this. One of the things I shared with you, in like 2022, is I had a pretty significant breakdown for like 6 months where I couldn't even get out of bed kind of situation, which was not me. For anyone who knows me, that was like it happened out of nowhere. It was unexpected. It wasn't a trending downwards kind of thing. It was like I was normal one day and I woke up one day and it was like I felt like I couldn't even breathe or like have
Yeah.
a piece of joy in my life. And so what's interesting though, Vince, is that the reason I share that is because up until that point, um, I almost feel like it was a good lesson for me because up until that point, when I saw people struggling or saying mental health or saying they have anxiety or depression, my automatic knee jerk reaction up until that moment was to say, oh, people just need to suck it up. People just like, they're just, all right, if you're sad, then just figure out what's, making you
Right.
sad, whatever's your issue, man, just figure it out. Like, I don't understand. And I couldn't have been more right. I didn't understand
Right.
because when it happens to you, the first thing I thought when I started experiencing these things, Vince, was, oh, I feel like I'm an awful person up until now because
Yeah.
uh, I'm not just feeling down about something. There's nothing I'm feeling down about. There's not a specific item to point to. I just literally can't crawl up out of bed. It's like someone gave me a shot of dread and I woke up with it.
Yeah.
And so once now through therapy and a lot of help from friends and family, I did get better and pick myself back up. And for the last 2 3 years, being all gravy again.
When you
But it
say
does teach you a lesson.
it does, because when you say, if until it happens to you, right? But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't necessarily have to happen to everybody. Like it may
Yeah,
never happen to you specifically, but that's the empathy, the the making a connection with others, where you have to be humble enough to realize that you don't have all the answers just because you're not experiencing what that other person is experiencing
yeah,
doesn't mean it's not legit. Um, and you know, we need more of that.
yeah.
We need more of that. We need more of that. We need more of people that are willing to understand that everybody's going through something. Now, I'm not making any kind. We're not talking about this to make any kind of excuses for what happened today. What happened today was,
I'm even talking about people who might experience things after this because me and my
yes,
wife
yeah,
joke
yeah,
around all the time that since that moment where I had all those issues, there's not a single issue that someone's come up to me and maybe like shared with me, not just anxiety, not just depression, just about
yeah,
anything in life,
anything.
where before I might have immediately had judgmental or like eye roll thoughts. Now I'm like, uh, that
What?
sucks if true. Yeah.
Yeah. When you when you as an individual realize that you are not infallible,
Hmm.
it opens up a whole new world to you and allows other people to be human beings. Um, and we've, hopefully we all get a chance to get to that point. And um, whether whatever happened with this guy today uh, is a mental health thing or just, and I also am a big believer that there's also just evil in the world.
Oh yeah.
Um, so whatever the case is with that, the main thing is look at the heroes that heroed today, right? There were a lot
Yeah.
of heroes today, and look at the resilience of the people that were involved there. I've got a friend of the family here that is in a pretty significant law enforcement agency, and that person texted us a little while ago. It basically said something to the effect of, "You would be proud of how TPD and the FSU Police Department conquered the day."
Yeah.
And so super, super proud of that, right? I wish it never would have happened. I wish I didn't have to be proud of them,
Yeah.
but I'm proud of that. I'm proud of, like you mentioned, the leadership of the university basically just saying, we're just here.
Yeah.
We're going to cook up some burgers, and we're just here because um, this is this is something that it doesn't matter that there was a baseball game tonight. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that today. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I just want to let everybody know these were the kind of things that we were going to talk about
Doesn't
tonight.
matter Hakeem Williams is in the transfer portal
It doesn't matter.
or Lee Corso's retiring.
It doesn't
These were all
matter.
our two topics, everyone.
Well, and Charlie Ward going to
Yeah.
FAMU, right? Those were going to be, but you know what? It just doesn't. And we're lucky to be fans of university, to have things to talk about. And eventually we'll get to those things. But we couldn't do it tonight. So let's shout out some people that are actually here tonight, because
Yeah.
I'm proud of them too. I'm proud of you if you're here tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to go through them real quick on that. And I do want to read a statement real quick. So Elijah
Yeah.
Barrera, Grill Master, K-Dog Jen from Renegade Report. No, we don't mind at all that you're retweeting the show. We appreciate your support. Vince, how would you go about pronouncing this name here?
I would say Dorbatakis. And if I'm wrong there, Peter, let me know.
Yep. Mike Holly, Daniel Gorby, Seminoles. Thank you guys for watching. I want to read a tweet from Melina Myers from the show. Spring graduation is in 2 weeks. Many FSU seniors will remember this event as one of their last memories at our beautiful school. Please allow your good memories of your time at Florida State to outshine this horrible day. I thought that was a very good message.
Peter, by the way, thank you. My last name is tricky to say as well, so I try to take great care when I try to pronounce someone's last name if it's a difficult one. But you know, it's getting close to finals week, right? And people are wrapping up their careers at Florida State, and that's, it's going to always be something that's like the end credit almost, but don't let it be the end credit.
I'm going to start a trend for those people right now, those seniors. Hashtag cancel the finals. I'm going to do them that solid here. A little humor on the end here. A little humor.
Yeah. So yeah, just to, Florida State, no classes tomorrow, no sporting events all through the weekend. There'll be a lot of, I think they had opened up the Tucker Center for counseling or anything like that some folks might need. And if you do need it, don't be afraid. Like go do it. There's nothing
to be embarrassed about.
There's nothing to be embarrassed about, or just find a friend that you trust, right?
Yep.
Especially someone that's going through the same thing you are, right? And I can't wait. I always miss my daughters when they're not at home, right? And Gabby came home yesterday from Georgia Southern. But I'm looking forward to seeing my other daughter, because, it's having to, I kind of thought she was at her apartment, but that initial, like, oh my God, is like, you cannot wait to wrap your arms around.
Yeah, because you don't know if maybe she's visiting a friend, or you have no idea.
You just don't know. So as a Garnet and Old family, we laugh and joke on here all the time, Ryan, and we have some rivals that pop in the chat, and some of them are rude sometimes, and we ban the ones that get over the top. But really, everybody, you know, we love you all, and uh, we we appreciate the passion that you all have for the sport and the school and the schools that you root for. And I saw some rivals today, some people that I know, do the right thing today, and
Yeah,
it's amazing, right? When it really boils down to, you know, you may have posted 85 million 63 to 3 tweets, but today you didn't do that because you know that doesn't matter. And that's kind of what I'm saying is as human beings, we're not so different, people.
yeah.
We're not so different.
And for the 134 people streaming live, even though this is not the occasion that we would necessarily like to welcome you. If you are new to the show, we do normally every Thursday at 7 o'clock
Yeah.
do a Florida State uh, sports centered show, and then during the season we also do pregame and postgame and all that fun stuff. So if you are new to the channel, we'll be back next Thursday, God willing, to do a normal football show, and we welcome you to join us for that. Again, 7 o'clock on Thursdays. Normal show next week. Hop on. Most of you are watching on X. Hop on over to YouTube and subscribe so you can be notified when we go live next week. But we thought it was important to not do anything
Yeah.
FSU sports related and make this purely a cathartic moment for all of us to kind of get in a circle and talk to each other.
Yeah. And I think I don't want to say I feel great, but I
Yeah.
do I do feel connected. I feel connected to you, Ryan. I feel connected to
Well,
the people that are here in the chat,
yeah.
and most of you I've not met in person, right? But that's the connection, and we need to do more of that in between our rival poking fun of, right? And ultimately, it's go Knowles, and today probably it's go Knowles more than ever.
Yeah. Go Knowles more than ever. Appreciate you all again. We'll be back next week. Don't worry about it. Vincent and Ryan will be back to do our normal Garnet and Old show tonight. Hey, but I encourage you, if you need help, get help. But if you need something to, for instance, I listen to podcasts or music or whatever it is to kind of, if I need to kind of get away in my own head, watch a show. I think I'm going to watch. We're rewatching Mad Men. So fantastic show. Fun, get away from it if you need to for a little bit too. It's important. You don't when something important happens, especially if you're very close to the situation. There is a time where you're all in it, right? You're in it. Um, but just because I don't want people who get away from it to feel bad for doing so, because again, that's your body's way of protecting itself from overwhelming. So if you feel like, hey, maybe I just need to go out, maybe I just need to, hey, maybe I get a drink, maybe I need to just watch a movie. Don't feel bad about that. Go do it
Not at
because
all.
it's healthy.
Not at all.
Well, Vince, I can't say it was I think it was a very nice show. I can't say it was a great show because we'll save that for positive and good shows. But it's good to see you, man. Glad to hear Juliana's safe, and hope all of you out there are safe as well. Gar and Old, as always, no inside info, no contacts, no problem, and go Knowles, everyone.
Go Knowles. Stay safe, everybody.
Be well, and give everyone you know a hug tonight. See ya.